Welcome back, guys, to Casual Round 8. These two guys didn't get the memo for some reason. It's still the coverage of the largest European Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournament of all time with 1,951 players signing up this morning. But if you're looking inside the main hall at this very moment, it looks more like 500 players, and everybody else just dropped. Everybody else is like, okay, this is going too late. We're looking at 11 p.m. So it's been a very, very long time.
Yeah.
Very long day, in fact. And you mentioned we have to be back here in something like 10 hours.
Yeah, it's pretty soon.
Fewer than that.
Yeah, it's fewer than that.
That is before that round. So
yeah. I'm not actually worried too much about right now. I'm feeling okay. I'm more worried about like this time, tomorrow morning, and then this time tomorrow evening.
We're not going to be in this venue tomorrow at this time, I promise you guys. All right, for this last feature match of the day, we picked Timothy Cox, who we actually interviewed while an investigation was underway in the last round. He's playing Spyral and doing quite well with it. He's got 6 wins, 1 loss, if I remember correctly. And his opponent is from Belgium. He's Bastien Magnier. Magnier. Thank you very much. So, and he's actually playing True Draco, the deck that we've, I think, featured the most today. However, in different incarnations.
Yeah, very different. And I think this one, is this done different again? I can't read it.
This is another one again. So similar most to the Inspector border version that we saw earlier on, but this time instead opting to go with Amano Iwato. A similar kind of effect that prevents monster effects from being used except for spirit monsters, but no one's really playing other spirits right now. But interestingly, unlike Inspector border, there's no way to get around it. You can't have fusions and links and synchros to be allowed to use your effects. Amano Iwato absolutely shuts down everything. So this version of the deck is very well set up to play second, particularly into a Pendulum Magician deck that will field a board full of negates and interaction with monster effects. You summon out your Amano Iwato, and suddenly everything that's sat on the field is just doing nothing.
Right.
And you can start playing your cards, using your spell and trap effects to pick it apart piece by piece.
Right. He's got a lot of disruption in his main deck, of course, with Reigeki, Dark Hole, things like that. So this is going to be interesting to see who's going to have the upper hand in this. We have some expert opinion on that True Draco deck, so let's hear it from Lorenzo Roma, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so with this format we kind of went back again and True Draco got relevant again. I think the deck is in a pretty good spot actually because its Magician matchup is quite good. Like Magician, while not being fragile to hand traps, is really fragile to Floodgates, and no deck really supports Floodgate that well as Draco, as you can tribute them, you have a lot of draw power to draw into them. Monarch's Erupt is a really good card, you can main Anti-Spells Fragrance, you can main Unending Nightmares. The deck is naturally good going second at breaking boards because all the Draco traps and spells can't be negated by Vortex and Norito, so you really easily break a board. Now with Resort gone, also Masterpiece just became a really good card again, and people have to play actual outs for it. And there's also the build with the new Rock Spirit monster, which just negates every monster on the field. Like only Spirit monster can activate their effect, and like that you can break like any board. The problem is, since last week the FDK got like popular and people know about it, that is a really, really bad matchup for the Go Second Draco, as you can't afford to play hand traps. Like the other problem of the deck is just like Rogue overall is pretty good against Draco always, because they play a lot of hand traps and Draco still is pretty weak to hand traps. There's also the Inspector border version where you can like lock them out of using hand traps if you set up going first, but then you're also relying on the die roll. I'm still pretty confident in Draco that it's going to do well. I don't think it's going to be represented as much, so you won't see like insane amounts of toss, but like I think 1 or 2 is reasonable, and if they have a good pilot who knows how to break boards and navigate through those disruptions, I think the deck is still going to do pretty well.
So there you had it. Now you know everything you need to know about True Draco. This and all the other segments. We had 3 different pro players who have done really, really well in the past. All going to be found on YouTube. So if you just want to have a very quick overview of the current metagame, this is the place to go. Yeah. This is just study like 10, 15 videos and you will know everything about all the different matchups and of course all of these decks with their strengths and weaknesses.
And we'll be able to show them even more tomorrow when we start getting up to the later stages where we're going to see nothing but the meta decks.
Right. Lorenzo did mention it's all about the pilot, except for the deck itself. It's also very important that the pilot is fit and knows what to do. So let's see if Timothy Cox can do something against that true Draco deck. Let's take you to the last feature match of the day. So here we see Timothy on the left, goes by Tim, and Bastien on the right with true Draco, as we mentioned before.
I think we've understand that Bastien won the die roll.
I don't know if he won the die roll, but he will start.
Oh, okay. So, kind of different. Same result in the end. So, you see in that mini pictures that our volunteers are hard at work, as always. And with that, it's on, and the clock is going to start counting down those 40 minutes.
So I understand that Tim's deck is designed to be playing first here. He's got Dragon Ravines, he only has one hand trap in his deck, and it's all about building up to that Tri-Gate Wizard board, so having interactions for the opponent's first turn. So I think if Tim had won the die roll, he certainly would have chosen to go first.
Right. So very likely that Bastien actually won the die roll. He starts a bit conservative. Haven't seen that all weekend. 2 face downs and then a set monster in front of them.
It looks a little conservative, but he has interaction with that play. So the True Draco Apocalypse will allow him to tribute summon on Tim's turn, and the Monarch Stormforth, in conjunction with that enables tributing the opponent's monster. So it's going to look like Bastien is playing Tim's turn for him here.
Right. Tim has some interaction with Spyral Tough, and he's calling. Spell. I don't think he called Spell. I would have guessed he called Monster.
Yeah, likely Monster.
Very likely. So that means that Spyral Tough missed. However, he now knows the top card of his opponent's deck, and that allows him to easily special summon the Spyral Super Agent.
Yeah. If he hits Apocalypse here, this could... Didn't hit Apocalypse, but either way, he's going to start triggering his effects now.
So Apocalypse is flipped up to get the tribute summon, and the Stormforth is chained to enable one of the Spyral monsters to be tributed for the summon of Masterpiece.
Is that the correct order of the chain?
So Chainlink 1 was Super Agent, Chainlink 2 was Apocalypse, Chainlink 3 was Stormforth. I don't know whether I would have opted to use the Stormforth there. So at that point, Stormforth was taking out an extra monster on Tim's side of the field in exchange for keeping the set Amano Iwato for Bastien. But there's an argument to be said that the Stormforth could have been a powerful removal tool for later on in the game, and that he would have still been able to keep playing this turn and just leave Tim with one monster on the field, albeit with a bit of risk associated with that plan.
Yeah. He's losing that one Spyral result, though.
Yeah, but he does have a terraforming to just go search for another one.
No, you can only play one now.
Right. Oh, so much for that theory, yeah.
And the limitation of that Spyral Resort is so much more than just not being able to terraforming for a second copy. We saw with previous events, Spyral Master Plan being the real linchpin of the Spyral deck. When it's sent from the field to the graveyard, it searches the deck for a Spyral monster and a Spyral Resort. Now, not only do you not have access to searching that Spyral Resort, but you aren't able to activate the effect to search for a monster unless you can search for both parts.
Right.
So if you don't have a resort in deck, you can't get any of the payoff.
This is very clever, though. He's playing Pseudospace. So that's going to help a lot with not having a second copy of Resort.
This is what I meant.
Yeah, yeah.
But actually, I remember Umut in Prague playing that card. He said the field spell is so important, I want to play 6 copies of it. So he was...
Playing Pseudospace already.
Yeah, even before the limitation. So a bit ahead of his time. It might not have been the most... the best game plan going.
I remember Pseudospace was very highly played when we had Chicken Game.
Right.
As well. Sadly, Chicken Game has gone away now.
If only there was a way to return it from your graveyard to your deck.
Yeah.
All right.
It's in the eternal graveyard.
So there was some talk recently with the ability of Spyral to play Shuffle Reborn. Given that the deck is already playing Foolish Burial Goods, to send spell and trap cards from the deck to the graveyard, you can send a Shuffle Reborn, use the in-grave effect of the Shuffle Reborn, targeting your on-field Spyral Resort, return it to the deck to draw a card. And that would enable you to then search it later with the master plan alongside a monster.
That sounds like a wombo combo.
Yeah, good compromise to that limitation of Spyral Resort.
So Bastien does have a Dark Hole and a true Draco heritage. Together with those 2 monsters on the field, the Masterpiece and Amano Iwato, which returns to his hand, obviously. So it did some damage. Sub damage is a bit of an understanding. Tim just down to 3,250, and the clock is ticking. Yeah, he needs to come up with something here. So that early disruption with the Monarch Stormforth, so far working out pretty well for Bastien. And there we have it. That is it. Number one win for Bastien Manier, who takes the first game in a storm, basically.
Yeah.
Thanks to that Stormforth. Pun intended.
Pun intended. Yeah, absolutely.
Storm's fourth to a 1-0 lead.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Nice. Some would say that he was the king of this match.
The true king of this match.
Oh, he's one-upping us.
One up. Wow.
All right, so time for the side decks. They are coming into play right here.
Yeah, things will really be spiraling out of control.
Oh god.
Okay,
this is worse than my puns.
He was practicing. I can tell. Thomas was like, okay, what if we have a pun matchup? How can I one up everybody?
Yeah.
All right. So we got Artifact Lancia, Twin Twister, Effect Veiler. It's an Asset Wheeler, if I the way I read it. Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring together with Droll and Lockbird. That's the side deck of Tim Cox.
That's 12 hand traps in the side deck.
It's interesting strategy.
Time to go second.
And then for Manier, he has the Winged Dragon of Wrath Fear Mode, Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. All of these cards, 2 copies each. And then 3 copies of Cosmic Cyclone, Imperial Iron Wall, and Dimensional Barrier. So, yeah, that's 15 cards, of course. Okay, just double checking here.
So for Tim going first here, I expect to see the Twin Twisters coming in. Really powerful card against any build of True Draco. And possibly also the Droll and Lockbird or the Ash Blossoms. We see True Draco hands full of spell cards that draw cards and search cards. Being able to negate or limit the activations of those in each turn can be very effective for just shutting the turn down before the True Draco player has been able to make the most of their hand.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's the handshake for game number 2. And they're reloading. Restocking on cards in hand.
Yeah, so do you think that Tim is going to want to be going first here? I remember you saying before he's got this Trigate Wizard setup.
I certainly expect him to be taking first at this point, yes. So yeah, Card of Demise for Bastien. But what will Tim be playing? Oh.
Wait, so Tim's not going first?
No, that's not what I expected at all.
Unless Tim's side decked and then now let Bastien go first?
I mean, that may have been what's happened here, but I don't understand what the decision was that led to that.
Yeah.
We do know that True Draco is a very good deck at going second, and Amano Iwato is definitely a card that is stronger when playing second.
Yeah, maybe Tim was thinking, my opponent's going to think I want to go first, so I'm going to side deck to go second and let him go first. Maybe that was the line of
gaming.
Yeah, maybe that was the line of thinking for him.
Interesting. Is it going to pay off? Do you think there's so much of a payoff?
It's hard to tell. We don't have Tim's hand yet to be able to tell us if that was the right decision or not.
It's not currently looking great for Tim.
No. It really isn't.
And there's still places to go for Bastien.
Tim keeps scrunching up his nose as if to say, not too happy about that.
We see Card of Demise there, not quite getting the full value, only traded in for draw 2 cards, but we've had Pot of Greed, not the worst.
Only.
Not the worst. Yeah. It's a weekend
Discards 2 cards.
Yeah, that's rough. That's worse than pot of greed at this point.
At this point, yeah. But he does, however, have the anti-spell fragrance.
Oh dear, that's
He
What's
invested.
in Tim's hand? I believe there's a Spyral Tough, so that may well be able to take down this anti-spell.
Yeah.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Now it's all about that correct guess. He's gonna go for monster again.
And Ash Blossom on the Majesty Maiden to prevent a new card.
Spell again. I think he said monster. No, he did say spell.
Whoa.
Ooh, good call.
That's
Good call.
The true Draco deck, as we can see here, plays far more spells
Yeah.
than monsters. So once Tim knows what he's playing against, there'd be no reason for him to call
Right,
monster.
right.
Particularly when he can see that 3 of them have already hit the graveyard.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's almost half of the total monsters in the True Draco deck.
it's so different from all the other versions of True Draco that we saw earlier, where you had like a 20-20 mix of cards. And here it's completely different. You're right, of course. There's even later on in the game you might even call it trap cards at some point.
Yeah.
If all the spells are gone.
This is a great merit to how good Tim is actually at the game of being able to make that read. Not everyone would see that.
It's true. But that's why he's there, and that's why he's only got 1 loss.
So Tim here has got straight into the access to his double helix. We know there's just 1 face-down card, True Draco Apocalypse. The only thing that will be able to be sent to the graveyard is the Majesty Maiden. So there's no real interaction here. All that Bastien can do is halve the attack of the monsters on Tim's side of the field. Tim here searching his deck for the effect of Spyral Double Helix. Summons out Super Agents. That will destroy the Apocalypse, and that will actually trigger the effect in the graveyard.
And you can see Bastien shaking his hand, his head. He's like, oof. This is
the
tough.
True Draco Apocalypse in the graveyard is unable to target any of Tim's Spyral monsters because of the resort.
Yeah.
So Tim is just systematically picking it apart at this point.
Yeah, Bastien has nothing in his hand other than his other arm. He's currently his arms folded, looking pretty unpleased.
Yeah,
displeased is the correct word.
There's a frowny face if I've ever seen one.
If you're Bastien at this point, you save your time and shuffle up.
Yeah. Yeah, this is not something I want to go through
No.
when I'm sitting in the feature match. I'm like, yeah, I know what's coming.
I love seeing this, though. Look at Tim. He is suddenly, he sees my opponent has nothing, time to motor into my combo and get this over and done with.
Yep.
I've got to play game 3.
Yeah.
He can even consolidate into something like a Tornado Dragon here just to prevent any sort of a comeback play.
Yeah.
So more than 25 minutes on the clock, and it looks like we're going to game 3 already. We are. Yeah.
Bastien just calls it a day.
Call me Nostradamus. Although that was a very weak call, I guess. It was like when a snowstorm is about to hit you, and you're like, I think we're not going to come out of this.
I'm going to be cold.
Unscarfed. Yeah, something like this.
So we see the players both reaching for their side decks again here. This time Bastien will be choosing who will be playing first.
What do you think he's going to do?
It's really hard to say. So it feels like Bastien's deck is built for playing second.
Yeah.
But it'll be very hard for Tim to know exactly what's happening here.
Yeah.
So it might put him in a position where he wants to choose some side decking to hedge his bets for having a good deck regardless of whether he's told to play first or second.
Right.
So things like Ash Blossom, Droll and Lock, quite effective against the True Draco regardless of when you're playing your turn. Might be a good choice. Potentially, I don't know what he would want to take out. Certainly the DD Crow isn't going to be the strongest in this matchup.
When he set up play a hand trap, of course DD Crow, and I was like, what?
So DD Crow is in his main deck, but
Yeah.
I expect that one to be coming out.
One copy of DD Crow in the main.
Yeah, it's his favorite hand trap. It might even be his favorite card. You can search it, of course, with the Lyrilisk.
There's card. Yeah.
Well, I
Rank
mean,
one.
at least it's a card that you can play in almost any deck.
Yeah, that's true.
Just imagine your favorite card is something that is completely
Yeah,
unplayable.
like the Necros of Trishula. That's really hard to fit into Gear.
The dimensional barriers not going to be doing anything for him in this matchup, so they will have come out. He has the ability to side out some copies of double summons. He still has his Foolish Burial Goods and the Spyral Gears to gain that extra special summon from hand. But if he doesn't know if he's playing first, he might not want that doubled up with the double summons as well.
Right. So this is it, the last game of the day. We've made it this far. And ironically, you can see the cards on the screen, even though we have some technical difficulties and we cannot see them in front of us. But you guys can see them, that's cool. Oh, and technical difficulties have been resolved, apparently.
Fixed.
So let's see. Yeah, I see a pot of duality for Bastian.
I'm dying to know who's going to go first.
Yeah, I mean, he had the choice. So it's really up to him. Can we make out any other card? It's just too much reflection going on.
Apocalypse.
Okay.
Card of Demise.
So here you have both.
Anti-spell Fragrance
Anti-spell
in the True Draco player's hand. He'll
Ooh.
definitely be playing first.
And he goes first, yeah, of course. Oof, Raigeki, maybe?
Yeah, interesting that he chooses to keep the Raigeki in when he's playing first.
Yeah.
We aren't even close to time.
No, like I said, more than 25 minutes. First time this weekend. These guys are so far not in fear of a slow play warning.
No,
They're
no.
looking pretty good shape here.
So Raigeki is a card that certainly as the round timer draws low, it's a card I'd be tempted to either keep in or side in regardless of whether I was playing first or second.
Wow.
Oh, here we see Amano Iwato preventing Ash Blossom from negating that card of Demise.
That's quite something.
Yeah.
Just goes to show why this card is so good in this deck.
And it's just a big wall, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And then even when it comes to the end phase, he'll be able to resolve the discard effect from his card of Demise, discard his hand, probably with 0 cards in at that point, and then after that, resolve the spirit effect of Imano Awato to return it to his hand.
Yeah.
It's a big rock.
It is just a big rock. It says no, you will not pass to all of the hand traps.
It's actually the name of a shrine in a cave. I think it's in Japan. It's a real place.
Oh, does it in real life also negate the effects of monsters?
I couldn't say for certain. I've never been there myself.
Okay.
They have all sorts of animals running around this cave because no traps work inside.
No, the traps work fine. It's the animals that don't.
Yes.
Obviously.
Yes.
All right. So Bastian is on a mission to assemble the perfect field for his first turn. He does know that Tim is holding on to an Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. He's also got Foolish Burial Goods, Pseudo Space, Twin Twisters, and Monster Reborn. But all of that might not be enough.
So Bastian didn't say here that he was resolving the effect of his card of Demise before Amano Iwato, so there's some discussion as to whether the card returns to the hand, but I think Tim lets it slide.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is you're free to select the resolution of effects in the end phase, so whenever there's confusion you can just say, okay, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, but if he did add it to his hand without saying anything about card of Demise, that's absolutely not right.
You can choose which way to resolve it, but if you resolve it one way rather than the other, you end up discarding the card.
Yeah, but the thing is, I mean, if you don't say anything, is that your unspoken confirmation that you wanted to resolve Demise last? That's a very one-sided way of interpreting whether the player was trying to do something or not.
Well, he should have just done it. He should have said, cards of Demise will resolve now.
Oh, we're talking about perfect world scenarios now.
Yeah.
All
It's hard to say.
Let's see where Tim is going here. He's got Foolish Burial Goods. What does he want to find here?
He sent his Spyral Mission Assault. He's able to banish it from his graveyard to special summon a Spyral monster from the hand.
So he's going to Ravine for Destrudo.
He has options for Destrudo or Darkworm with the Ravine.
Yeah.
So Darkworm is a card that we've seen a lot of play from Pendulum Magicians, but it's also used in other decks just for its ability to special summon onto the board and put a level 4 monster.
And Tim just passed play here. He didn't see where to go from there.
Yeah.
So he thinned out his deck a little bit, so if he sees some more turns, there's a better chance of drawing into the right cards. But right now, it's not looking very good for him. Bastien.
I think he's going to see another turn, though, at this point.
Yeah. There's a second True Draco Apocalypse showing up in Bastien's hand. Or at least it was.
The effect of Dragonic Diagram, destroying one of the Apocalypses.
Likely going to go get Heritage.
Heritage would be able to take a draw immediately.
Yep. So far, so good.
Yeah. He may even decide to just get that Masterpiece down as soon as possible as well. Using
And
Heritage.
if he chose to tribute the Majesty Maiden already on the board, he could get a second draw off the Heritage afterwards.
He's in pretty good shape.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's in, like, really, really good shape here.
No, Bastien opts just for a single draw. And he may now, afterwards, decide to summon out the Masterpiece. Is Bastien able to field enough damage to see this off? No, I think he's just under 1,000 short.
Yeah, even if he tributes both the spells and traps at this point, he could... Yeah, he could only get up to about 7,000 something.
Only.
Yeah.
7,150, I think. Oh,
Yeah.
no, 7,450 with the diagram boosting the Majesty Maiden.
Yeah.
So it would be very close to lethal,
Mhm.
but close to lethal isn't lethal.
Yeah, that's very hard to argue. So he's just slow playing his opponent, just dealing like 4,000 or something, and that is turn for him.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Life points starting to become more of a binary value.
Yeah,
You either got them or you don't.
that's true.
Yeah, we see cards like Destrudo. People happily pay half their life points. It doesn't make a difference.
Although we earlier saw the situation where the magical musket could not be activated, if I remember
Yeah, that's
correctly.
true.
So sometimes it's a bit more complicated than that.
That's rough.
Yeah, Tim didn't draw anything. So, oof, we were just like, okay, is he going to find something? No, he did not, and that was the handshake very quickly. So, in the end, it's Bastien Manier who wins this 2-1. Let's talk about that match in the last post-match analysis of the day. Yeah, guys, if you just tuned in, you've missed out on a very, very long day. 8 rounds of Swiss today. We're going to be playing 3 more rounds tomorrow, and then the top 32 for YCS Bochum 2018, where we have 1,951 players. Like I said, this was the last round. It's kind of late right now.
Yeah.
It's 11:15 in the evening. The last match of the day was Tim Cox from the UK, who is playing Spyral. Seems like a little bit like he took last year airlines on his way from the UK
Yeah.
to Germany. And his opponent, Bastien Manier from Belgium, who probably took the car. He's well on track. He's got something that is currently being played very often, True Draco. Although we've seen very different incarnations of that deck this weekend.
Yeah,
Just
absolutely.
saw True Draco sealing the deal there with the Cosmic Cyclone, taking out the Dragon Ravine. Obviously, as a field spell, Dragon Ravine has to remain face up on the field to resolve with effect. So Tim discards his card for the cost, and at Chainlink 2, Cosmic Cyclone banishes the Ravine. No dragon is sent. Tim's left without any plays, and just has to concede there.
Yeah, it was pretty bad beat in the third game. However, the first two were a little bit more interactive.
Yeah.
So we did see both of these decks like bring their A game to the table in a way and show guys, okay, this is why this deck is still a competitor this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely.
So interesting to see that people have been taking like Spyral. We saw Lightsworn Zombies. We saw Lightsworn with True Draco. Like we saw all of these mixes. Mermaid was 6-0 at one point. So it seems like the format is a lot more open than we expected.
Yeah.
Because going into the weekend on Friday when players were registering for the tournament, a lot of players said, I expect to see so much Pendulum FTK.
Yeah.
And in fact, we only counted 90-something players, 96 players that went with that version of Pendulum, which in a field of almost 2,000 players is not a lot.
Yeah.
As my maths says less than 5% or 5% roughly is not a lot in such a big field.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing which versions of these decks actually make it all the way to the end.
Right.
For me, it will be very interesting to see the proportions. When we cut to day 2, we'll have the stats then of how those ratios have changed from what entered to what's really been filtered through.
Right. So let's just wrap things up about this particular match before we have the last interview of the day. What proved key, which also played a role in between games, was actually side decking strategy. We've seen that this weekend, very, very important, more so than ever almost. And there was a moment when we thought that Bastien is actually siding in a way to go second and then decided to go first.
Yeah.
Maybe hoping that the element of surprise would give him the upper hand. In the end, he did not have the perfect hand in that second game and actually lost it to a really good opening hand by Tim, who was just happy to have an additional card at his disposal, basically.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Bastien decided he didn't actually want to be interviewed.
Okay. So we're very sorry, guys, but the last interview of the day is not going to happen. Happened a bit earlier today when we didn't know that. So with that, I think it's time to wrap things up for today.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be around 9.5 hours.
Yes, that's pretty easy for you guys. Wherever you are in the world, whatever time zone you are in, doesn't really matter. We're gonna kick things off tomorrow morning, which is in 9.5 hours. So just like set your alarm clock to 9.5 hours in the future. For us, it's gonna be something like 7.5 hours, so we can still get ready prior to the tournament.
Yeah. First we gotta finish up here. All the guide all the players into the correct direction, being the exit.
Yeah.
And then same thing on the other end tomorrow morning, getting everybody in and sat down, and all that stuff's got to happen. Yeah,
we're gonna have some interesting stuff tomorrow. Of course, the Dragon Duel tournament is gonna take place tomorrow.
Yeah.
And on top of that, we have the public events, many of them. Attack of the Giant cards. I think we have like 6 giant cards this weekend. At least.
7.
7 even. Okay.
I did a giant card spotlight, which you guys may have seen already.
Right.
That's why I was counting them in my head.
So you can see that as well. You can win some giant cards. So many things are happening this weekend in Bochum. Now I think it's time to hit the Bermuda Triangle, which is in a inner city of Bochum. It's a really cool place. You should totally check it out when you're in the city. If you are in competition for day 2, you might not want to check it out. And I think on that high note, we can bring this thing to a close. Luke, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ollie.
As always. Thomas, I think that was a really cool day 1 for you. For the first time ever, we had you on the team, and it felt like you belonged right there. Gave us so much insights. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you. I'm excited to see the top cut tomorrow.
Right, yeah, it's going to be super exciting this weekend. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the show. With that, we're signing off from day 1 of YCS Bochum 2018, and we're going to be back in 9.5 hours.